Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, we can add another list to the name of possible special teams coordinators, and the Packers continue to find, I don't want to say the worst, because they might be great. They might be the best. But if you just list out their achievements in the way that we all view them, they have interviewed the absolute worst possible freaking candidates. I'm starting to wonder if they are so unbelievably infatuated with Rich Bisaccia that they are trying to find the worst possible replacement to make the special teams worse so that they can say, see, Rich was really good. I'm running out of theories for what the heck we're doing here. But, he's a assistant special teams coordinator for a major NFL franchise, and by major, I mean one of the 32. I don't know what else to say to make it sound positive, but the person we're talking about is Sam Sewell, the former special teams coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Excuse me, let me try that again. The former assistant special teams coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Almost every word in that sentence makes me sad. There's nothing necessarily wrong with being an assistant special teams coordinator. It's what you are before you become a special teams coordinator. But assistant special teams coordinator was his former role for a terrible team in the Arizona Cardinals who had a terrible special teams unit. One of the worst in all of football, which is exclusively the teams we seem to be interviewing are the teams that had the worst special teams units. And then I say former because when Matt LaFleur's brother took over for Arizona and hired a new special teams coordinator, he decided he didn't want him even as an assistant special teams coordinator, just fired him. So now he's available, even as an assistant special teams coordinator. But we decided, heck, why not see if he wants a promotion to special teams coordinator? Because, according to, I think this is Huber over at Sports Illustrated, the Cardinal special teams finished 30th in the Sports Illustrated special teams rankings and were 30th in DVOA as well. They were better in 2024, finishing 15th in our ranking and 18th in DVOA. And there's all the endorsements from Gannon because obviously our defensive coordinator comes from Arizona, so he knows the guy and everything, and it's, they're detailed and they coach him hard and they do all these things. That's great. But here's the thing, I'm kind of to the point, not that there was ever a point this wasn't true, but I'm kind of to the point that I don't really care about the words you're saying. I would like to see some level of results. It's possible, again, that you got a really good coach. Maybe he's extremely talented and it was the special teams coordinator that was the problem. Maybe it's just the players that were the problem. I don't really know. I'm not super up on the Cardinals' problems. But if I see one more article from Bill Huber highlighting how we're going after a guy that was fired because their special teams unit was a bottom 5 special teams unit, and that's who we're bringing in, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. At some point, we need to at least contemplate the idea, the concept, that perhaps good coaches get good results, and we should be looking for the good results to find the good coaches. That's not a 1-to-1. It's not 100%. There are other variables. But it's going to be significantly more difficult finding the needle in the haystack good coach who's buried behind such a bad organization with bad players that you it's fine. It's special teams, and who cares, who needs special teams? It's not like it matters. 3 points here or there, as long as we're winning by, double digits, 15, 12, field goals aren't even going to matter. Field position, who cares? It's not important. A muffed punt here and again that gifts them 7 points. Again, if you're 25 points better than a team, special teams is useless. It doesn't really matter. So I don't even know why we're doing all these interviews. We should just pick anybody. Just pick this guy. It's fine. We don't freaking care. Obviously. So let's just grab the first person that you find. In fact, go out to Quick Trip, grab some frickin' chicky nugs and chocolate milk and ask the cashier, who's very friendly and says, see you next time, to say, you know what? In fact, how about you come with me and you can be our special teams coordinator and you get a big pay raise and you can just be friendly. Because that also is 90% of what the Packers are looking for in a coach, is a very friendly person that everybody likes. Again, I'm mostly just venting because, who knows? I've said before, you don't really know who the good coaches are. It's so hard to tell. I'm just annoyed. You know what I mean? It's like they're trying to annoy me. Can you interview one respected special teams coordinator from a good unit anywhere? I don't care if it's an assistant coach. I don't care. Nope. Exclusively fired NFL special teams coordinators and assistant coordinators from bad special teams units and dysfunctional organizations, like the Raiders and Cardinals. Sweet. Come to think of it, I already miss Rich Bisaccia. If it's, I don't know. See if we can get on social media and start begging him to come back. We were wrong, Rich. We need you because, again, it'll be fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. All right, let's pivot for a second here. I want to take a look at a little bit of the breakdown of the NFL Combine and how that's going to be on a day-to-day, and then a little bit schedule-wise what we got coming up after that. So Monday the 23rd, which I think should be tomorrow for y'all, you're going to have players start showing up, as well as coach and GM media availabilities. Same with Tuesday the 24th, coach and GM media availabilities. So that's going to be the first 2 days, is kind of getting that kind of news and notes. On top of, again, the media folks are showing up like today-ish. And so they're going to be going out to the bars together and all that kind of stuff and rubbing shoulders. And so we'll see what's out there. Wednesday, you got more GM and coach media availabilities, but that's also when we get started with some player interviews. So defensive line, linebacker, and place kicker player media interviews. Then on Thursday, and it goes like in this order. It's kind of staggered in kind of like a step thing. So Thursday, that same group, defensive line, linebacker, place kicker, will be doing their positional drills, as well as doing measurements and on-field drills. And those start at 2 o'clock p.m. Green Bay time on NFL Network, NFL Plus. On Friday, it's the tight ends and defensive backs' turn. In addition, that previous group, defensive line, linebacker, place kicker, does bench press and then getting the heck out of there. Quarterback, running back, wide receivers, the next group, they'll be doing media that day. Saturday, the QB, running back, wide receiver does the drills. DB, tight end does their bench press. And then it's offensive line media. Sunday, O-line does their drills. QB, running back, wide receiver does bench press. And then Monday, you've got the O-line kicking it out of there. The fan public section is open Thursday, Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you happen to be going, which I'd like to do it sometime, but I probably never will. Sounds like it could be a pretty fun event. But you got to remember, in addition to this, so we've got all the interviews taking place, which are great. You get to hear from these guys. They get to drop little nuggets or whatever. You get to hear from all the different teams and the coaches, and Brian Gutekunst is going to be speaking. Packers are also going to have meetings with guys at the Combine, so that'll be another thing that we'll have to track as we go along. Very shortly after the Combine, starting March 9th, is the legal tampering period. March 3rd is the deadline to use the franchise or transition tag. That's a date on the calendar. It's pretty irrelevant for most of the NFL, and certainly, well, I shouldn't say certainly irrelevant. I have no expectation of the Packers using that. But March 9th through the 11th is the legal tampering period or negotiation period where teams can contact players and talk to them. And then supposedly March 11th is the start of it is the start of the new league year, supposedly the start of free agency. However, the way that this works, for those that don't know, is as soon as the legal tampering period starts, teams contact players. As we all know, they're all full of crap that they haven't been working on this behind the scenes. They probably try to play it up like, oh, we haven't been talking and working out contract details and everything else. They talk to a player, they pretend that they haven't been talking for weeks or months, and then they come to a tentative agreement. You're not allowed to actually sign on the dotted line until the start of free agency, but you're going to start having these agreements, which will be leaked to Ian Rappaport, et cetera, et cetera. And very quickly after the opening at noon, I believe that's Eastern time, so 11 o'clock Lambeau time on March 9th, you're going to start hearing so-and-so is going here for this much, so-and-so is going here. Meaning, basically, March 9th is the start of free agency. Occasionally, a player will flip, almost never. In addition, on March 11th, the trading period opens, and so that also can officially take place. Then we have a little bit of, it's not really a lull because the trading will continue. There's sort of the rapid fire stuff, and then there's the continual things. But from March 11th, then we have until the 29th when we have the annual league meeting in Phoenix, Arizona. So you've got trading and trading and trading all the way through that. We still have rumors going on. We still have meetings going on with combine participants. We still have trades going on. We still have free agent acquisitions going on, cuts going on, contracts being signed. And then March 29th, we get the league meeting. And again, this is an opportunity for everybody to get back together. Different kind of vibe. It's more like what kind of laws and rules are going to be passed and everything. But there's still going to be news and notes and all that good stuff. Then, just about a week later, off-season workout programs begin for teams with new head coaches. That's not us, but that's a lot of people coming back. On the 20th, off-season workout programs begin for teams with returning head coaches. So we've got the combine, we've got free agency, we've got trades and contracts and all that good stuff. We've got the league meeting. That's all happening in the next month. Then, after that, we have teams coming back together and starting off-season workout programs. And then, at the end of that month, we have the NFL draft. Then, after the NFL draft, early in May sometime, we have the rookie minicamps. In the middle of that month, you've got the OTAs are beginning, the voluntary OTAs. Pretty much everyone's going to show up for that. So May is OTAs. June, we got mandatory minicamp. And sometime in July, we're going to have our training camps get started. So again, it is continual. There's going to be some breaks here and there, but the off season is just like the regular season. You get maybe a bye week here and there, but it's pretty much just nonstop. But all right, let's take a break. I want to answer a question that came in on After Dark regarding the tradability of some of our players and some of the conversations about trading, and including the conversation that happened a while ago that I kind of tabled, and I figure this is as good a time as any to talk about it, and that is the possibility of tagging and trading Rasheed Walker. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so this was a big hubbub, or whatever the term is, on social media. I was kind of surprised to even see the conversation come up. It appears the idea initially came from a CBS Sports article. I'm not going to check who wrote it, but he writes in here via Rasheed Walker. It's like he's going position by position. That's the point of these articles, is they're just looking for anything they can put in here. And so they're looking at franchise tag candidates and whatnot. And it says a long shot option here is Packers tackle Rasheed Walker, but only in a tag and trade scenario. The tackle market in free agency and the draft is thin, so Green Bay could try to recoup draft capital lost to Dallas. Still, the Packers are typically conservative spenders, and that's a hefty number for Brian Gutekunst. Goes on to say, I don't think Goody is motivated enough to tag Rasheed, one league source said. Finding a partner at that number is tough, but it's possible. Unless there's a deal in place, this won't happen. So, for anyone that's kind of confused what we're talking about, the thought here right now is that the Packers will let Rasheed Walker just walk out the door. He is not under contract, and on the new league year, his contract is null and void, and he's free to sign with another team. If you were to tag and trade him, essentially what you're doing is you're kind of forcing him into a contract, and then you're trading him on that contract. So it seems somewhat sensible insofar as, well, it's nothing compared to something, why not? Well, there's a couple reasons. First is the price. What it would cost to tag him. The tag is around $28 million. So the very serious problem here is we're essentially giving him a 1-year, $28 million contract And as the article said, you have to have something in place. Otherwise, you might be stuck with him. If his value is $20 million, who in their right mind is going to trade on a $28 million contract? So for the most part, it's dead on arrival. I mean, if he's worth 20, which is what his expected market is, and it's sitting at 28, you're unlikely to find anyone. But even let's just say you could, what value is left? They're going to pay 28 and what? And a second round pick? No. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth? What are you going to get when they're already paying for the guy? They're going to give you almost nothing, which brings up the additional problem, which is I'll put it this way, the compensatory pick formula. That was one of the things in the conversation that was worthwhile is being careful with the language here. There's no guarantee you get a compensatory pick for Rasheed Walker. What you get is to put him into your your win column for the compensatory pick formula for 2027. So we're clear, a guy counts in your favor for compensatory picks if he is an unrestricted free agent. So, we're talking about guys like Rasheed, right? His contract's just up. He signs with a different NFL team between a certain window, then he qualifies as a compensatory free agent. And so what happens is when we get around to calculating what compensatory picks you get or don't get or whatever, they essentially take the guys that work in your favor, like Rasheed, minus the guys that you signed that are in this situation. And so I say formula because he's projected to be around a third or fourth round compensatory pick. But if we go and get somebody of equal or whatever value, it essentially cancels him out and you get nothing. So you don't want to overstate it and say, well, he's worth a third or fourth round pick if you just let him walk. Well, not necessarily. It puts us up to a third or fourth round pick to start off the formula. But we got to let this whole thing play out in terms of who else goes out the door and gets signed and for what and how much, minus who we end up signing. Again, I think the formula is not known, but more or less known. I think like Spot Tracker or Over the Cap, one of the two pretty much has it pegged in terms of which compensatory picks you're going to end up getting. But the main driver of it seems to be APY, how much money they end up getting. Rasheed is looking to get somewhere in and around $20 million, $21 million average per year. Again, that's in and around the third or fourth round compensatory picks. It can only get as high as third. There are no first or second round. So third would be top of the market. You also get a boost for snap counts in 2025. So if he signs a big contract and then tears his ACL week 1, that frickin' sucks. Any additional AP All-Pro, PFWA honors or whatever is also a benefit. Don't really expect Rasheed to get that. So if he can just get a big contract and stay healthy, that'll help us out quite a bit. So the point is the tag and trade thing only becomes somewhat interesting, first of all, if the actual price was a little bit closer to what he was worth and we could get more value from him, and if we were willing to or looking to be a little bit more aggressive. In other words, if we know we're going to be signing a bunch of people, we're not going to get anything as far as compensation on the other end anyways. So considering his compensatory value is essentially zero, it would make more sense to trade him and get, sixth or seventh round value or whatever it is, because that's the only value that we can actually secure. I don't know if teams actually think that far ahead because you don't actually know who you're going to end up signing for sure. But that would be the only way that would kind of make sense. But again, the values are just so far off, it doesn't make any sense. But I only bring that up because, number one, trade value for our players was brought up, and number two, I've been saving that for a long time, and I figure if I saw it, a lot of you guys probably saw it and were wondering about that situation. So I have no expectation, pending there being something I'm missing, that Rasheed Walker will be tagged and traded. If the value of the tag was like 20 million, maybe. 28, I don't see how that works. As for the actual tradable pieces, I think it's pretty obvious who at least the main two guys are that we would be looking at here. Number one, we can look at Elton Jenkins. Now, bear in mind, the issue, one of the main issues the Packers are going to have, and this doesn't mean a deal doesn't get done at all, but one of the main issues they're going to have is that teams know, or at least they will know if you're having conversations about this, or have a pretty good instinct that you're probably going to be cutting these players, releasing them, letting them go. And so at some point, they become completely and totally available for free-ish, right? We just work out a contract that makes sense for both of us. I don't have to give up any compensation to the team. It all works out. So essentially what the team is paying for is the right to the player. I don't have to fight with all the other teams to try to get Elgton Jenkins or Rashawn Gary. I can make a trade with the team, and he just comes here. So the question is, considering the contract, which can be reworked, the question is, what is the price I'm willing to pay for the privilege and premium of just getting the player, securing that player for sure, so I don't have to compete for him? There are some additional frictions here with Elgton Jenkins and Rashawn Gary, and that is the contracts themselves. I know I said it's not that big of a deal because you can obviously rework some stuff. However, the way that these contracts are set up right now, there's a lot of money in their base salary. And so the problematic portion, so for example, when you look at it, it's a $28 million cap hit. Well, the new team doesn't take on nearly that much because a lot of that is prorated nonsense or whatever that the Packers have to pay for. The new team doesn't have to pay for that. They still have to pay for the base salary, though. And so even though they can restructure or whatever, the base salary is at $18 million in 2026 and $21 million in 2027. That's just so much freaking money. And so I think, your best option, let's just say he's worth $15 million. I have no idea. I made that up off the top of my head, but let's just say I need to get that number down. The only way I can do that is to give him an extension. So if we give him the $15 million, call it a 2-year, $30 million deal, and we restructure it so that the numbers are closer to what we think his value is in terms of the cost that we're going to pay up front, and then by the time he gets to be 31, because he's going to be 29 this year, so in 2 years, ideally, we can get out of this in okay terms. The bottom line is, it is a tough sell in my mind, depending on what people think. Assuming we're trading Gary, if somebody out there thinks he's worth $20 million, this is not going to be that difficult to move him because his contract this year is 18 and next year is 21. That's easy. That's less than what he's worth in both years. And effectively, none of this ends up being guaranteed pending some kind of a rework here. I would think, though, if I were a team, and I understand there's probably going to be teams out there that are desperate, they desperately need pass rushers, and Rashawn Gary might be significantly better than what a lot of other people that are going to be floating around out there can offer. But I feel like I would rather just let the Packers cut him and then take a run at him for what we think the value is worth. Elgton Jenkins is in a very similar boat. He's older, which is not great. He is going to be 31 years old this year. So he's not even, 29 like Rashawn. He's 2 years older. So right away, that's an issue. The good news is that he's only on a 1-year contract, and so that's all we have to trade him with. But that 1 year is $18.5 million, and nobody wants to pay $18.5 million for Elgton Jenkins. And again, yes, they can agree to a new contract, et cetera, but that would mean that they would have to agree to a contract extension with a 31-year-old guy with injury issues that hasn't really been a prime player in 2-3 years. I mean, again, how much value is it, especially when 18.5 is there? You can get a new contract, but you still carry that 18.5 on the contract. So we're definitely not sitting on any gold mines. I mean, if Gutekunst was able to trade Aaron Rodgers in that monstrosity of a contract, anything is certainly possible. I just wouldn't expect a massive haul, if anything at all, for Rashawn Gary and Elgton Jenkins. A couple other names to consider. I saw somebody post something recently about the Packers should trade Jaden Reed. I'm not going to entertain that. Same with Lucas Van Ness. I don't see any reason to entertain that. That seems stupid. Well, they're short on cap space and whatever. I don't care. You don't give away Jaden Reeds as a way of cleaning up a little cap space. Aaron Banks is one that's not talked about very much, and it feels like there's something so close to being here, but not quite. So we have Aaron Banks under contract for the next 3 years. His base salary is not terrible. It's 7.7 in 2026, 5.1 in 2027, and 13.1 in 2028. The sticking point are the roster bonuses. And the roster bonuses, unlike some of the other things like the signing bonuses and stuff, they do carry over to the new team. So we can't just trade them over. We don't pay the roster bonus and the new team doesn't pay the roster bonus, and so it's a win-win for us. What that means is if we trade him prior to the third league day of 2026, the 13th I think it is, then we don't have to pay that 9.5 and we get to trade him. Win-win for us. The problem is now that 7.7 million base salary becomes 17.2 million for the new team. Who wants to pay 17.2 million for Aaron Banks? Aside from the Packers in 2025 because they're stupid. It's actually 19.25 per year. We freaking. So as far as trading goes, that would be our two options. You try to find a team that's willing to take on him with the roster bonus. We save the cap space and boom, we're good. The more likely way for this to work would probably be that we would have to split it, which is to say we would trade after the third day of the league year, meaning we would take that hit. We would have a $20.25 million dead cap hit for Aaron Banks. We would save, $4.5 million roughly. The new team would only pay $7.7 million for him. Next year it would be 5.1 plus the 9.5 roster bonus if they decide to hang on to him. And then in 2028 when he's 31, his base salary is 13.1. Not great, not ideal, and of course there's all kinds of things that they can try to do to rework the contract or whatever, but it's already a pretty light contract. Again, I think the Packers keep Banks. I think they tend to like Banks. They obviously paid him a ton of money, and Gutekunst said he thought he played better down the stretch, so I'm assuming they still view him as this great elite player that just dealt with a couple injuries and he's going to be fine. But just theoretically, that would be the only way that would probably work, and even then, I don't know who's going to pay that. And it's also not great for us, because if we're not going to get a ton of compensation, it would probably make sense to just release him, cut him prior to the $9.5 million hit, and the Packers save $14 million. Let's take a break. Got a couple other names here to contemplate. Again, probably none of these end up happening, but it's worth contemplating. Take a break. We'll be right back. One that's arguably reasonable. Again, caveat, don't see it happening. But Josh Jacobs, he's 28, so it's kind of like, on the downswing-ish for a running back typically. We didn't get a massive amount of production from him. I don't see how we move on without him, but hypothetically, let's say we have a plan in place here. We have him under contract for 2 years at $10.2 and $12.2 million. Again, these numbers tend to get kind of high, and it's probably why the Packers don't end up doing a lot of trades. But I do think, top-end running backs, you're getting closer to $20 million a year. So for 28-year-old Josh Jacobs, to say that he's not worth 10, I think that's kind of silly. I think there's plenty of value for a $10 million Josh Jacobs. Now, the value wouldn't be massive, as is the case with pretty much all of these. So you're not doing it because we're just trying to load up on picks. You're not going to get much. And so essentially, you would do something like this if you feel like we're going to move on anyways. We're going in a new direction, and we're going to try to recoup as much as we possibly can. I do think in this scenario, there is enough value here to get a day 3 pick. Now, that may be a 7th round pick, but there's something there. Again, that only happens if the Packers decide already we're going to move on, which I don't see any reason why that would happen. Nate Hobbs, very similar to Aaron Banks. We have him under contract for quite some time. His base salary this year is only $1.8 million, but he does have one of those pesky roster bonuses at $6.25. That actually could end up working to our benefit to make him much more appealing. Again, I think he ends up coming back, but if we were willing to eat that, you could offer as an incentive, this guy's, you're going to pay him $1.8 million this year. That offers a ton of value. His contract beyond that is $9 million and $9.7 million in 2027 and 2028. That's not very high, and there's no guarantees. You can cut him whenever you want. This is one of those scenarios where you're essentially, as the Packers, spending money to get draft capital. We will pay the $6.25 million so that you get him for $1.8 million. Essentially, you're getting a steal here. It's a $1.8 million rental, but I want you to pay us in terms of draft compensation. On the other side of that same coin would be Keyshawn Nixon. Nixon might even be more tradable. And I know somebody had brought this point up on Packernet After Dark about, if you had to pick, which one would you rather pick? The stupid volume thing keeps going down. Sorry about that. If you had to pick which one would you pick? And, Nate Hobbs was very contrite. He was very upset. I didn't live up to my standard. I didn't do X, Y, and Z. Keyshawn Nixon, he's got a big mouth, blah, 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 blah. Keyshawn is 28, going to be 29 this year in the 2026 season. He's got 1 year left on his contract. It's $4.3 million. It is unbelievably tradable. And honestly, I think he could be worth a decent chunk. I know Packer fans are like, no, he's a bum, whatever. He is a special teams guy. He's a return guy on special teams. He played all 17 games, and he was one of the top guys in pass breakups last year for $4 million, sub 30 years old. You think that guy couldn't get a heck of a return? I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of our best trade pieces. Now we'd be going forward with Hobbs and Valentine and Bullard, plus potentially anybody else we try to find in free agency or the draft. But I think that's very tradable. Another trade option that I'm, again, not a fan of, but Brandon McManus, if they decide we're not doing it anymore, we do have him under contract. It's not impossible. The Packers decide we're going to go in a different direction, and some other team is like, heck yeah, I want that guy. Again, what do you get? Probably not a ton, but his contract is $2.1 million. Let's put it this way. If I was the other team, I would trade for McManus. The only other two I had listed here, Dontavian Wicks. Again, I don't see a ton here, but if the Packers look at it and say we got a bunch of wide receiver options, probably not, with Dobbs likely not coming back. But if there's a market for it, somebody comes a-calling, they need a wide receiver, they like what he brings, blah, blah, blah. He's in the final year of his rookie deal, so he's very cheap. Somebody could grab him and offer him the extension that he wants and that maybe the Packers aren't going to pay. And then the last one where I don't think that there's really any value just in terms of him as a player, but Luke Musgrave is $1.9 million in the final of his contract. Again, you're talking, if for some stupid reason somebody loved Luke Musgrave, you could get, a 2028 7th round pick or something. Probably not even that, but outside of that, I can't even fathom anybody on this list. Again, I saw something about Jaden Reed. To me, that seems absurd. I understand what they're saying in terms of, well, you got to pay Christian and, can you really afford Reed and blah, 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 blah. Yes, we can. Leave me alone. In summary, look, trades are pretty rare in the NFL, all things considered, compared to all the other ways of acquiring talent. They obviously do happen. We traded with Micah and all that. And a lot of trades are going to happen this year. So, anything's possible. But, just looking from the standpoint of from my own personal self-interest or whatever, who would I want to move if I was both sides? I don't love any of those. A lot of it's going to come down to what are the values of these players. What is Rashawn's value? What is Elton Jenkins' value? And then in addition, like how much time do you think they have left? Rashawn is young enough that if you feel like he's got, plenty of time on your side, then you feel fine because you get him a new contract. It's no big deal. But I don't think too many people are thinking that. So it's going to be tough if you're looking for trades, but it's out there, I suppose. All right, I'll take a break. We'll be right back. Also, from a while ago, and a lot of this is redundant, but I just want to go through this. There's a couple notes here from Rob Domofsky, presumably from one article. But in addition to talking about Rasheed Walker, says he will expects him to reach free agency. Jordan Morgan will earn the starting role next season. NFL source told Domofsky Walker will be among the top 2 tackles available, could command $20 million per year. In addition, looking at Sean Ryan, Domofsky writes that Green Bay has let more talented linemen walk, but Ryan has impressed after moving to the center spot. I will fight anybody that actually believes that. Domofsky also expects defensive end Kingsley Enagbare to demand an 8-figure salary. Well, yeah. Which Green Bay may have to pay, with Micah Parsons unlikely to be ready for Week 1 and Rashawn Gary possibly being released. That's also, you got to keep that in mind too. I mean, you can't let them both walk. So you hope that Kingsley is reasonable here, because if he starts getting crazy with his demands and we have to start letting him at least go out the door and test the market, we could be in a precarious situation pretty fast. Regarding linebacker Quay Walker, Domofsky thinks bringing him back may be a luxury that Green Bay cannot afford. Domofsky could see the next contract averaging $15 million per year, which was the price of his 5th-year option. $15 million per year is pretty wild for Quay Walker. I don't mind Quay, but that's a little steep. I like it better than 19 for Banks, but, that's another thing to keep an eye on, and another reason why, if you're doing your mock drafts and whatnot, don't forget linebacker. That may be a bigger need than you realize. And then finally, Domofsky notes that quarterback Malik Willis will be among the top quarterbacks available, will likely receive a contract well above $10 million annually. I'm now seeing closer to like $30 million. So I don't know who was saying 10. If it was 10, I would say maybe we do keep him as a backup. But I'm recently, and I don't know how real it is, because like one day after I see Spot Track puts him way up there, then somebody else comes out and says like the exact same number, which I find fishy. But that would be pretty wild and good for him if he can get that. Domofsky also cites a source who expects Dobbs to be in line for a contract worth $12 million per year. In the end, Domofsky has a hard time seeing Green Bay bring back Dobbs, given that they have Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, and Dontavian Wicks on the roster. $12 million is definitely modest. I mean, if you're talking about, pound for pound, the value with Romeo and Quay and some of the other guys that we've talked about, $12 million is not very much, considering what he can bring to your team. And if it wasn't for, Reed and Golden and Watson and everything, it would not be as wouldn't be that hard of a conversation. You just pay them. I don't know. I want to hold out on that a little bit. Definitely the most likely scenario is that he doesn't come back, but $12 million seems like nothing. I know you got to pay Watson, and you're probably going to end up having to pay Jaden, and I don't know how that's going to go, but it's a little staggered, and Romeo is low enough. We got to see. I don't know. It probably can't work, but it's such a low number. Maybe to finish it off, we'll just go ahead with this. Another one I've just kind of had saved. I don't know who this is. Evan Cohen is an ESPN guy. That's all I know. But I had somebody, it was Slap Happy Cookie, Mr. Steve Cook over here, shared this with me. It's another one I just kind of had saved in my my thing here. So let's go ahead and play this nonsense, because I have a feeling a theme throughout the entire offseason, I've already gotten numerous calls about it and whatnot, is the Jordan Love disrespect narrative.
I'm really down on Jordan Love development. I'm not down on Jordan Love specifically the person, or like
he got markedly better this year. Ev, he was markedly better this year than he was last year.
They're just okay. To their credit, they are achievers. They don't underachieve, but they don't overachieve. They're just achievers.
Okay, first of all, again, I don't know who the heck this is, but you made a statement, okay? And I don't know the context of what happened before this clip, but you made a statement. I'm down on Jordan Love's development. Okay. So then Tausch comes out and says, well, he got better. So that's a weird thing to say. And his immediate response is starts talking about they, meaning the Packers. Well, hold on. What did you change what we're talking about? Are we talking about Jordan or are we talking about the Packers?
And it's kind of driving me crazy that I remember sitting here a year ago with you guys, and we had this exact conversation about if we're here again in the same position a year from now, that's when the hot seat conversation.
First of all, I wasn't a part of that conversation, and I would have not agreed with that conversation. I know a lot of people think in those terms. There's too many variables. There's too many things that could happen that could cause me to go, oh, you know what? I know I said that, but based on the circumstances, that's not exactly how I feel. But I still don't have any idea what this has to do with Jordan Love.
Comes. That's when you wonder, was he worth the money? And we're doing the same damn thing over and over again with the contract extension for the coach and for Jason, the GM, like if we're going to be critical. Like this is just, I'm like, I don't want to say I'm bored of this because it's never the wrong thing to talk Packers and Jordan Love, but I'm bored of the fact that you guys don't have tangibly a new conversation to have because they have not given you one. And how you guys are not frustrated by that is beyond me.
I still am not making a connection here, other than he made a very slight comment about we still don't know what we have in Jordan. I mean, Jordan looked... First of all, Jordan has been good since day one. His PFF grades have been 83, 74, and 89. In 2023, he was unbelievably good. The only reason he was as low, with in quotes, as an 83 is because the entire first half of the season was just kind of eh. And then 2024, he was injured basically the entire season, still had a 74 grade. And then in 2025, he comes back and has his best year ever in a 90 grade. And I don't really know what we're talking about here. I mean, I'm bored with it. Okay. I don't know how to help you with that. I mean, are we just saying they're not good enough because they haven't won a Super Bowl? Because if that's not what you're saying, then tell me what you're saying, because I don't know what you're saying. What does Jordan Love need to do for you? And this is kind of what I don't like in general about the negativity stuff. If you're correct, that's fine, but it's always so vague and just like out there in the universe somewhere, right? This is the whole like there's a systemic problem with specialty. What is the problem? I don't know. It's just like deep in there somewhere that you can't see it, but you just kind of know it's in there. And I can't have a discussion with you because you want to constantly talk to me about fairy tale land. It's all about your feelings and fairy tale land, and I don't know what to do with that. Speak to me in concrete terms. Speak to me with something that makes sense.
You guys are having the right conversations, but I don't understand how you're not...
Didn't you just say we're having the wrong conversations?
...bothered by this franchise that has had so many great players and quarterbacks specifically that they're not giving you anything new to talk about.
Like what? What does that mean? What would you like to have talk about that's new? I mean, the Aaron Rodgers thing was very new. That was a new topic to talk about. Like, what is it we're supposed to talk about? What does that even mean? What new conversations do you want to have? About what? What?
For the last 3 years, it's what is Jordan Love? What is Matt LaFleur?
Okay, well, okay. Yeah, in 2023, it's what is Jordan Love, and he looked really good down the second half, and that was great. And but it was like, well, it was the second half, so I don't know. Then 2024, like he went backwards, but he got hurt, and so it's kind of still a little bit, I don't know. Are you saying you still don't know at this point? Because I'm feeling pretty confident right now. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they had that conversation, and maybe that's what Wildy and Tausch were talking about. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But even if that is the case, what are you mad about? Why are you mad? Jordan Love has given us 3 good years of quarterback play and is more likely than not to continue giving us good quarterback play based on the 3 years. Just because I can't be 100% certain of anything, so I'm mad because it's not a new conversation? Fine, then I know he's great. Boom, new conversation. What the hell are you talking about?
Enough with this already. I feel like I'm in that Ryan Tannehill Dolphins conversation I had when I was living in South Florida. I'm still not sure No, I'm not comparing the player. I'm comparing the conversation.
Okay,
where every year it was like, I don't know if this guy's going to be good or not. And this is just,
Well, if you're not comparing the player, but you're comparing the conversation, I don't know what we're talking about. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's not the same, then what are you talking about? I mean, how are they different? Are they different because Jordan is better? Significantly better? Okay, then what?
it's brutal. In my case with Tannehill, talking about them living in South Florida, it was, I don't know if he's going to be good. In your case, is I don't know if he's going to be great.
That's
okay. This is such a stupid conversation to have. I don't know if anybody's going to be great. I don't know from this day forward if Micah Parsons will ever be great again. I don't know that Myles Garrett will ever be great again. I don't know what the future holds. All I have are probabilities. And nobody is at 0%. Well, some people might be. Nobody is at 100%. I'm at 0%. So again, my question would be, and I'm not having a conversation with this person, what would you like to start saying? That I know that he's great? And by the way, greatness is all in the past. Because this was always true of Aaron. Well, you could say that about Rodgers. No, you couldn't. You couldn't say that about Rodgers going into the future. I know he will be great this year. All you can say is I know that he's great based on he's been great. You know how I know that? Because 2015 happened, and we all would have said, rightly so, that Rodgers is a great quarterback. Guess what? 2015 kind of sucked, and 2017 sucked, and 2018 sucked, and 2022 sucked. So what is the conversation that you wish to have, and why, and what are we accomplishing with that conversation? Did you know Pat Mahomes was great prior to this past year when he was very mediocre as a quarterback? Of course you did. And what good did that do you in 2025? How much did the Chiefs benefit from knowing that Pat Mahomes is a great quarterback? Not at all. Because when we have that conversation, we're only talking about the past. So yeah, if you're saying that Jordan Love, for some people, hasn't done enough to be in that, like, solidly he is a great elite quarterback, I don't really give a crap. I mean, it's maybe the conversation in and of itself, that discussion in and of itself could be interesting. How do we determine that or whatever? I mean, he makes a very strong case for it. He's played nearly 2,000 snaps and has never graded out as a bad quarterback and has only graded out as a top quarterback in the NFL. He's very, very, very good. What do you want? So I guess Evan Cohen is one of those national ESPN radio hosts. He hosts Unsportsmanlike with Evan Canty and Michelle. He is a Wisconsin alum whose radio career started at UW-Madison. So there you go. He's got ties back here to Wisconsin. Although he roots for the New England Patriots. Why? Because he's a fair-weather scumbag. That's why. I think he did grow up on the East Coast, but I think it was New York, so he's still a fair-weather guy. Again, I don't... I like being the guy that can critique nonsense like that, but I don't even know what to critique because he didn't say anything. You're having the same conversations. Can we break this down? Because I'm a little stupid. What exactly is the conversation we're having, and what is the conversation you'd like to have? Is Jordan Love great? And to be clear, so that's the conversation that you think that we've been having for 3 years, and you want to know why we're not pissed off about it. I know he's good. I don't know if he's great. And I'm so mad. This is what you want. This is this is how you feel it should be. I understand, like, you're a big fan of Mad Dog Radio, like just screaming angrily AM radio type stuff. It's great content. You know, I think we need more of that in Wisconsin. Chicago has it. A lot of radio places have it. I think in Wisconsin we tend to be a little bit more. Yeah, we do have a couple, I guess, but they try. I think because Wisconsin is such a nice place, we excel at more of the nice media, and we're lagging in some of the angry, screaming media. I can pull it off, but not in the right way. You know what I mean? I don't do what they do. Still waiting for somebody to hold that mantle. We've had a couple, like, Twitter warriors pop up and try to be like the arch nemesis of the media and try to play that whole card, but it's like, I don't know. Nobody's been able to do it successfully. So, by the way, if that person exists, I would probably be willing to put them on my network because I would love to have something like that. I think it's a good thing, right? I have my opinions, but I like having a diversity of thought. I want to have as many like different. I guess in a perfect world, there's only one thought, and it's the right thought. But I think part of the problem sometimes is a lot of us, and I'm not trying to be elitist. It's that whole Bukowski thing. I do this for a living kind of a mentality, but I've noticed that very often I will come to an opinion and I will notice that a lot of the people that do this a lot have all come to the same opinion, and it's not exactly the most popular opinion. And that's good because I think people that do this for a long time should have more of the right answers than people that don't. But it also does mean that you've got a lot of, it's not even necessarily groupthink. It might look like groupthink, but groupthink is more about we all come to the same opinion because we're all in the same room just talking to each other, formulating one opinion, and then going out with that one opinion that we formulated together. What I'm talking about is different people independently coming to the same conclusion and then coming together and we show our notes and we all have the same answer. It's nice because I think it shows that you have an intelligent group of creators that can provide content that is valuable. But it would be kind of cool if there was just some freaking wild cards, you know what I mean? Just people saying crazy stuff. Plus, you know, we can make fun of them and everything. I mean, it would be fun. I think you find them more on like Facebook and stuff. I don't watch a lot of the Facebook content, but I know there's some interesting shows out there. And I know a lot of people would absolutely hate it, but yes, I have absolutely, as you can probably tell, because I was playing with this when I was on vacation that one time, but I absolutely was contemplating AI personalities because I thought it would just be kind of cool to have just this angry, rabid, frickin' old, grizzled psychopath that's pissed about everything. And I wanted to go into like the Facebook group and Twitter and get all the negative comments and like train the AI on negative Packer fans and be like, be that guy. And I thought I had something because there's an open source model that is really freaking incredible. And I downloaded it and I ran it, and it does a great job of cloning your voice. I cloned my voice. I tried. So, all right, let me tell you what I did, and we'll get out of here. Now we're just chatting. You can leave if you'd like at any time. We're basically done. But if you want to hang out and chat for a minute, so I was trying to think of like a fun like debate format, just as like a stupid show. If you can do it, because you know. Again, I know some people hate AI, but the bottom line is it's coming at a rapid pace. And there's a part of me that thinks that it has to be a level of self-preservation. Because the efficiency with which, you know, AI shows are going to be able to crank out content is significantly higher than I'm going to be able to. And, you know, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. Not that I would permanently leave or anything, but I would get swallowed out at some point. Anyways. These things keep getting better and better and better. And so I thought, okay, here's what I would do. What would be a fun thing to do? If you had a super happy, hippie, positive type of positive Packer fan that you train on what it means to be a positive, you know, you're pro the GM and everything, and it's all going to work out in the end. And, you know, you stick to the philosophy and you draft and develop and you do all that stuff. And then you've got the everything sucks, everyone sucks, fire everyone. We need to go all in, angry people. And then I thought, what if I trained the voices? And I trained the happy voice on Mr. Van Driesen from Beavis and Butthead. the hippie teacher that they have. Okay, children. He made the song, it's not After Dark, so I won't say it, but something Seagull. That was pretty hilarious. And then for the angry one, you could do that drill instructor guy. I forget his name, but he's another coach. I think it's the gym teacher, I think. And I was going to do that. And then it didn't super work when I was trying to train on it. I think because like the background, like, you know, disc scratchy kind of noise to it, it kind of distorted everything. It was actually kind of hilarious how bad it was making really weird sounds. So I was like, all right, I'll just do my own voice, but I'll try to do like a Mr. Van Driesen voice, and then I'll try to do an angry voice. Bottom line, it cloned my voice with a very short clip very well. Like, it was creepy how much it sounded like me. And this is not something online. This is entirely free. You download it on your PC, and it runs it there. The problem is, when I had a script made up, it would be like 10 minutes just to do like a paragraph or something, maybe not quite that much, but it's not feasible. At some point, it's going to be insanely feasible. So, just be well aware at some point that will be a thing that happens. I'm even thinking for now, if there's like breaking news, I might try that just because it's a small little snippet, just to kind of work out the kinks with all that kind of stuff. And then obviously I'll do my thoughts on it the next morning. But by the way, I don't know why whenever I have an interest, I think, I should start a podcast about that. Just have a need to vent about things. Can I just spend 30 seconds? I know I'm the biggest AI nerd, at least that you probably know, but it just occurred to me, and I know this is going to be probably the death of civilization, but that's fine because I'm so excited about the immediate future. You know what dawned on me? That was pretty cool. I had come to the conclusion pretty early on, and I was telling everybody this, that, everyone's looking at these stupid AI pictures. I remember the first time I saw it, I was freaking blown away that AI it was the dumbest looking pictures in the world, but it was still like, that's crazy. And then how quickly it, like within, I think it was less than a year, these images were like photorealistic. It was shocking. And I had said on here that, you know what video is, right? It's just a pile of pictures. It's just frames of pictures, one after the other. And so once the pictures get good and AI gets good enough, that they generate, because they started generating 4 and 10 images. All it has to do is generate a series of images to turn it into a video. Well, that's already happening. And now we have this, V-Dance thing or something that is unfreaking believable in terms of video. And so essentially, all we're talking about is if you just take this thing and continue ramping it up, and that's all we're doing, and that's all that's going to continue happening. And that's why I don't understand the short-sightedness people have of AI. Take any one thing and push it out to infinity, and think about what that means. Well, what is a video clip that goes on forever? For a long time, I've been thinking about movies. Movie isn't forever. A movie is, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. What is a movie that goes on forever? Or another way to put that is a continually generated world. You could essentially live in a movie, or more realistically, a video game, but a game that is just continually being generated. And as long as the people who are doing this continue to ramp up the computational power that they have, which they are absolutely doing that. You have Elon now shooting data centers out into space and is planning on building data centers on the moon so that he can shoot them off on these little freaking rail guns from the moon because there's lower gravity into space so that they just go ping, 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 like at that rate. Yes, the computational power is essentially going to be infinite at some point. And that's just that one realm. By the way, a couple other things, because they're stuck in my brain, and because I have no friends and my family doesn't care, I talk to you people, okay? Number 2, in regard to movies, because people are all upset about the movies. I'm never watching a movie, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Do you know why movies suck now? Because there's no money in them. There's no more movie theaters. There's no more Blockbuster. There's none of that. And so the days of making really good movies because you can afford to take risks have been dead since the 90s, and there's no more good movies. The same with music. Ice-T said this recently. Oh, you should never use AI in your stuff. And Ice-T basically said, screw you. We're out here making all this money. It costs us all this money to make the music. It costs us all this money to make the videos. And you know what we get for it? Nothing. We get like 0.07 cents per download. We get no money anymore. There's no more CDs. There's no more discs. There's no more albums. People aren't even hardly going to concerts. Like, there's no money in this anymore. Do you understand? With the rapid growth in efficiency, and maybe this won't be as much so in music, probably more so in movies because it takes more creativity. I can make good music. I don't know anything about music. I just tell it make me something cool. And maybe this will happen in movies. I don't know. But when you get a filmmaker that now doesn't need anything other than something that can take his thoughts and turn it into reality, do you understand how good movies are going to be? At such an unbelievably low cost, the level of experimentation that's going to happen, the explosion of genres that are going to happen, the amount of unbelievably high quality movies and television shows that are going to be out there. because of, number one, the amount of people that can do it, and so create that barrier to entry doesn't exist, but also the extremely talented movie directors and all those people that are out there can create things that they never would, because they would never get a budget for it. They never go to a movie studio and say, here's my idea. They would say, no chance. Now these guys get to truly express their artistic creativity in any way that they choose, because they are in control of their artistic creativity. And nobody can tell them no, and they can bring anything they want to life. The idea that this is going to ruin anything is insane. This is going to create an unbelievable renaissance of movies and television shows. Finally, I know this, I can't start another podcast, so this is, again, you could have left at any point. Another point that somebody had made that I found, and he was terrified about this, I love this, and I've been talking about education, like, that is one of the biggest things with AI. In my opinion, school is already useless at this point. You don't need it. Education cannot come in a better form than what we have on AI right now. But anyways, the larger point that he made is the cost of intelligence will be zero, which is a shocking thing when you realize how much we pay for intelligence. How much do attorneys cost? How much do doctors cost? These are all things where people have to spend lots of their time and lots of their energy and do all these things to gather intelligence, to be experts in fields. And then we pay massive quantities of money for that intelligence. With AI at our fingertips, and we're not quite there yet because, well, I don't trust AI. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Because again, take anything and extend it out to infinity. However intelligent you think it is now, if it grows linearly, will it ever get to a point where it's intelligent enough? Of course it will. Of course it will. And it's stupid to think that it won't. So you can hate it all you want. It's going to continue on a path that is not even linear. It's exponential. And it will get to the point that all intelligence will effectively be free. And again, we're almost there already. It's just a question of getting it more solid and more concrete or whatever. Effectively getting us to the point where everyone can be trained by the most brilliant scholars in the world. They can be treated by the most brilliant doctors in the world. And ultimately, you've got three choices. Number one is to do what seems like most people want to do, which is to pretend that nothing actually interesting is happening and it's all stupid and blah, 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 blah. This is probably the most transformational thing that, way more than the internet and freaking electricity and everything else. Number two is to get excited, which is what I choose to do. And number three is to panic because this is going to bring about the end of the world, which is entirely possible. But as Elon has put it many times, we are in the singularity. And essentially what that means is we've crossed a line and there's no turning back. And we cannot see what's beyond the event horizon. We don't know what's on the other side, but we are going, and that's it. So, anyways, I'm excited, and I had to get that off my chest. And again, this is where I do that. I'll try not to bog you down too much with this crap, but every once in a while, some stuff comes out new, and it blows my freaking mind, and it's like, holy crap, man. By the way, the AI doomers have consistently said 2026, 2027 is when it all falls apart, and there's mass riots in the street and everything. So it's either going to be really awesome or really bad very soon. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.